Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene claiming that supposed discrimination against white men leads to them watching porn and playing video games.
Yeah, let's process that for a second. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is basically saying that because you've been taught by society that white people are evil, it's forcing you to stay indoors, no other reason. But anyways, you're staying indoors because you've been told that white people are bad. And while you're indoors, what are you doing with your naughty little hands? Are you touching yourself? To pictures on the internet? Videos even? And then when you're done, are you using those naughty little hands to play video games? To enter a fantasy world that perhaps is better than this capitalist nightmare we live in and escape for a little while? Is that what you're doing? Oh my God, heaven forbid. How could you? How could any of you? It's time to talk about porn, everyone's favorite topic. We're going to talk about porn and video games. Yes. This will bring in all the clicks. It's what everyone wants to talk about.
Does everything tell you guys through Hollywood, through books, through music, through our entire culture is that white men are bad. White men, they're bad. They have to be pushed to the back. They shouldn't be listened to. But what that's done to your generation.
I mean, if people have been hearing and believing that, that's really fucked up and weird and totally wrong. No, not white people bad. Racial hierarchies bad. Reinforcing racial hierarchies also bad. Those two things really bad. Oppressing other groups for the color of their skin, that's bad. All bad. All terrible. But guess what? You could be a very based white person who recognizes that and wants to end it. Then you're fucking you're awesome. You're poggies, That's the way.
And even a little, some of those a little older than you, and those definitely younger than you, it has created hopelessness in many of these guys. Hopelessness. They're lost. They grow up in a broken home or maybe just a really bad home. No one is there for them as they're growing up. They spend time hours and hours alone. Which is, what do they do with their time when they're alone? They don't have an after-school job if they're in high school. Maybe they probably don't play a sport. So they're spending hours and hours time alone, which turns them to all kinds of bad things. Porn on the internet, reading crazy stuff in chat rooms, and God knows who's in there and saying what they're saying.
Like QAnoners? Marjorie Taylor Greene? Like QAnon stuff? Weird conspiracy theories about Trump being a white savior, protecting everyone from this cannibal pedophile cult where they're just trying to get children's adrenochrome. That stuff, the stuff that you participated in, the stuff that you were a part of the community. You remember that? Yeah, that was some weird, dangerous stuff online. What was the other things?
A lot of time playing video games, and I know people don't like to demonize video games, but I
Uh-oh. Hey, gamers, you hear that? Marjorie Taylor Greene is going after you. You, the gamer, the most persecuted class in history. Are you going to stand for that? Are you going to take that? Huh?
Do you think that maybe has a role there for certain people?
That was sitting.
Do you think she's cleared half of Cuphead on expert mode? Because I have. That's right. I'm almost done half the game on expert mode. And I'm going to finish the game on expert mode. I will, because I'm a true gamer.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene claiming that supposed discrimination against white men leads to them watching porn and playing video games.
Yeah, let's process that for a second. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is basically saying that because you've been taught by society that white people are evil, it's forcing you to stay indoors.
Clean up your room.
No other reason. But anyways, you're staying indoors because you've been told that white people are bad. And while you're indoors, what are you doing with your naughty little hands? Are you touching yourself? To pictures on the internet, videos even, and then when you're done, are you using those naughty little hands to play video games, to enter a fantasy world that perhaps is better than this capitalist nightmare we live in and escape for a little while? Is that what you're doing? Oh my God, heaven forbid. How could you? How could any of you? Why are people at home more than ever before? First, we had a pandemic. There's that. That certainly drove a lot of people indoors. There's also, again, the capitalist nightmare we live in. They don't ever seem to want to talk about that because, no, capitalism is the savior of mankind, as is Donald Trump, as is the adrenochrome that lies in the veins of the children. But then they're going to vilify dudes. Yeah, they're going to go after dudes. Be like, you are a lost generation of masturbators. All of you. You're lost. And you can't stop masturbating. Can't stop watching porn. Video games are masturbation in their own way. Just another form of masturbation. It's all masturbation. It's all sinful.
Okay, so I'm gonna first have to preface this conversation with a citation needed. Second of all, I have to say that as a white man myself, Wait,
what? Oh no. What's gonna happen next? We'll have to say I'm white? Oh my. What's happening?
Don't think I've ever faced discrimination. In fact, I know I've never faced discrimination specifically because I'm white. I don't even think another white person has called me a honky. But yet, I still enjoy porn and video.
Wait, oof. Is that no, okay, that wasn't the C word. I think we're okay. I think the H word is still allowed. As far as I know, right? Like we could be like he's talking about driving and he's talking about honking the horn. And because he likes to honk the horn, that's what he's referred to as someone who enjoys that practice. That's what he was talking about. It had nothing to do with a potential slur.
Perhaps I'm a degenerate for other reasons, but I mean, if she's claiming that there's this correlation here between discrimination and liking porn and video games, then how do you explain me enjoying porn and video games? Mom, I'm just kidding if you're watching this, by the way. I hate porn. It's disgusting.
Weirdly wholesome.
But how do you explain that? She talks out of her ass and makes things up. Like, it's got to be really convenient to be a conservative because you don't ever have to look up your position. You just make it up. And then when people call you on it, you say that it's fake news. So first of all, what is their definition of discrimination for white men? What are some examples that they provide us with? Now, there's no concrete examples, no anecdotes, but she does say one example, which is pop culture, I guess, priming people to think that white men are bad and pushing them behind. And really what it sounds like she's saying implicitly is diversity, because we see less men and we see more women and people of color. Well, then that must suggest that white men are inherently bad. Nobody thinks that unless you're a snowflake and you want to be perceived to be the victim. Just because more people have representation in culture, in politics, that doesn't inherently make you a victim. If greater representation for other people feels like oppression to you, that says more about you than...
The thing I don't get about that, the geeks and gamers, the quartering, all the neckbeards on the internet who are always so mad if there's like a woman or someone who happens to be non-white in a role, or heaven forbid a trans character or something like that, is like, did you never watch foreign cinema? Foreign cinema is fucking based. As soon as I found out about like samurai films, kung fu, stuff like that, I was fucking hooked. And then once I got my eyes open with like Japanese horror films, I was into Asian horror like crazy. I like subtitles. It's fun. I was like, and did you never get to enjoy any of that? Like even the classics, even like the Seven Samurai, have you never seen those movies? Do you not get to enjoy any of those? Like, do you have to just watch nothing but Rambo on repeat over and over and over? And don't get me wrong, I like the 80s campy action movies. They're fun as fuck, but like there's other stuff out there. It doesn't have to be only one type of hero.
The other people, but that's the only example that they provide us.
Yeah,
with
Asian
here.
horror goes hard.
Oh well, yeah, men are getting pushed back in culture. Okay, you're not providing us with any examples here. How exactly is this anti-white message covertly being delivered to us? Is it subliminal? She says things and she doesn't think them through. It's just her entire view of the world is not, driven by empiricism or facts or data. It's just her opinion, and her very stupid opinion, might I add. Now, the other problem with this is that she suggests that there's something inherently wrong with porn and video games. I mean, everything is fine in moderation, of course, but when it comes to video games in particular, there is a study that was just released that proves gaming not only boosts brain activity, but it leads to better decision-making skills. I mean,
there you go, gamers. All right. You have 9,000 IQs. Isn't that great?
I mean, there's a plethora of benefits with gaming, not to mention it helps people to relax. That's why I love video gaming. It helps me to relax. I enjoy it. But according to her, it's inherently bad. I mean, this is, when you live in your own bubble so much that you never escape it, that you think that anything that is foreign to you, even something like video games, well, you know, it must be bad because I don't like video games. Play one. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll talk less and learn something from video games. Perhaps history, right? Perhaps, you know, you need these decision-making skills. So
she strikes me as someone who would probably only like Candy Crush, but even then, after like, you know, beating a couple levels, eventually to start going, it's Marxist indoctrination somehow, or that it's like, it's groomering because there's colors. She'd be like, there's a rainbow in here somewhere. This is a groomer game.
maybe you should play some video games, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'd recommend Elden Ring, but I don't think that you'd be capable of beating that. Not a lot of people are. I did, though, but not to brag. Anyways. Okay.
Humble bragging. I mean, if your mom is watching this, Mike, she probably has no idea what the fuck you're talking about right now.
Caught up on video games. She also said something that stood out to me. She said that another consequence of anti-white discrimination is reading crazy stuff in chat rooms. Oh, like QAnon?
Hey.
So look, what she's saying here, like if you are a young man who feels isolated, I think that you could plausibly become radicalized by...
Yeah, the truth of the matter is there is a massive problem with this entire generation of young, mostly white men who are incredibly terminally online on their computers and has been for some time. And this has nothing to do with the fact that there is some built-in white racism to modern society that's making them do that. There's so many other factors at play. There's capitalism, for example. How exactly is their housing situation? How are their parents? Are they able to spend time with them? Are they in a beloved family unit? Or are their parents having to work 2 or multiple jobs? There's a fuck ton of poor white people in America and Canada. That's a massive problem that's not talked about. Second, what about social media? Do we talk about the addictiveness of social media, the way social media incentivizes more incendiary content, the way every single AI on social media is programmed to make us stay on their platforms for as long as possible, and when you're on Twitter or Reddit, you seem to get madder and madder because of the way it promotes a lot of materials? Yeah, we should probably talk about those kind of things as well. Instead, it's, well, porn, video games, bad. Even though if you want to look at like periods that they thought were absolutely glorious, guess what? There was porn in the age of Reagan. Yeah, but there was porno. There was porn theaters. You could go into a room with a bunch of other adults and sit there until you felt you were sufficiently horny enough to start jacking off in front of a room of other people. That was the thing that existed. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened. Did society suddenly upend itself because of that one aspect? Was porn the single thing causing mass male alienation? Is that one of the factors?
Some far-right message board or, you know, subreddit or something of that.
Pee Wee Herman did it. So I, by the way, bought into that lie for so fucking long. Okay? I thought Pee Wee Herman exposed himself in a regular theater, and because that's the way the media was talking about it at the time. It's like, Pee Wee Herman exposes himself in a theater, blah, blah, blah. He's a degenerate. And you're like, oh, shit, wow, I didn't know that. Beloved children's fucking actor, Pee Wee Herman. He did that. Turns out, no, he was jerking off in a porn theater, which is just like what people do. People did. I mean, they don't really do it anymore. There's not many porn theaters in existence. I don't know. Maybe your town has one. The last porn theater in Vancouver got turned into a club. And it's actually a pretty fun club to go clubbing in. Because every time you do, I'm like, I am dancing on layers of ancient jizz. You know, I remember the last time I walked in there, after the bouncer had like searched me and everything, he's like, hey, thank you. I was like, oh, no problem. I love it. I'm a legacy. My great granddad used to jerk off of these hallways all the time. He like lost his shit laughing. It's not true, by the way. I'm not trying to disparage my grandfather or encourage my grandfather. He did not actually grow up in Vancouver. But yeah, it's just a thing. But is that still a thing? Do people still do that? You know, he jizzed in a jizz theater.
Nature. But she herself has become radicalized by message boards or Facebook groups, perhaps, because she's a QAnoner or a former QAnoner, but perhaps potentially a current QAnoner. So, I mean... I love how she says that that's a negative when she's been radicalized in the same exact way. If you go back to her videos before she was a member of Congress,
Matt Gaetz is holding a high school event? What the hell? Matt Gaetz sparks outrage over hosting a high school event? Absolutely vile. He's been investigated by the Justice Department in connection with sex trafficking of a 17-year-old girl. He's due to appear Tuesday night at the Academy in Niceville High School. Niceville. In a post on Facebook, Gaetz said, the Academy Night is an opportunity for high school students to speak directly with the Congressman Gaetz and Service Academy representative to learn more about the process for gaining admission to the U.S. service academies and receiving a congressional nomination required for entry. Ew. All high school students, groups, parents, principals, and teachers are invited to attend this event to learn more about the entry to the U.S. service academies. But Gates' scheduled appearance alongside high school students has drawn strong reactions from some Florida residents who have expressed anger that someone under federal investigation should attend that event in person. The controversial Republican has been dealing with the scandal since the New York Times revealed that he was being investigated by the Justice Department. Officials opened the probe following a previous investigation to Joel Greenberg, a friend and ally of Gates, who pleaded guilty last year to sex trafficking of a minor and other federal crimes. Gates has denied any wrongdoing and said the Justice Department's investigation is part of a government operation against him and like-minded Republicans. The allegations against Gates and his slated appearance at Niceville High School prompted Kara Marion, a candidate for Okaloosa County School Board, to ask, what message are we sending our kids? Yeah, that's messed up.
He talked about how Q was a patriot. She was an actual Kool-Aid drinker when it comes to Q. Now, this interview is really bizarre to me. I've got to point that out. And let me put on my tinfoil hat for a moment, because the individual who interviewed her is an 18-year-old college student, and on his YouTube channel, he has 990 subscribers, and his very first video is a lengthy interview with Tucker Carlson, and just a couple of weeks later, he already scored an interview with a sitting member of Congress. That's kind of weird. So the question is, what right-wing billionaire decided to, wish this person into existence with a lot of money? Who has the connections that got this person prominence when they came out of nowhere? That's one thing that I think we need to keep an eye on.
Who is it? Daniel Schmidt. Piece of Schmidt. Oh my God. What's your own channel's name?
Ladies and gentlemen.
This can't be the official one. 996 subscribers? 18-year-old college student interviews Tucker Carlson. I don't think this is the real channel.
And in response, she told me, I don't care about the story, and that's my answer. And I was like, wait a second, we're at a conference dedicated to fighting disinformation, and the story that arguably had the most disinformation about it, right? We were claiming it was Russian hoax. It took nearly a year, more than a year even, to finally admit it was real. She came in and just said, I don't care. And I think it's just a testament to how sort of arrogant these corporate media journalists are.
Freshman UC Chicago, head of Piece of Schmidt. Wait, that was his channel? What? It's got 996 subscribers, and he's interviewed Tucker Carlson and a sitting member of Congress? What happened to the other interview? Where did that go? A generation inheriting a broken and confused society. Schmidt shares illuminating experiences from attending an elite university as a conservative, white male from Tennessee. Fun. He's retweeting Ron Plutowski. I just had the privilege to interview Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Topics we covered: Christian nationalism and its appeal to young people. Oh, wow. The persecution of white men, the anti-white agenda and its consequences, the link between big pharma and school shootings, and much more. Holy shit.
Brought something to the table that now is a big deal. It's something called Christian nationalism. The reason why I find it so interesting, and by the way, I think I would probably call myself a Christian nationalist. I'm a Christian. I think the interest of Christian people should be spread. I think Jesus Christ should be praised, and I think this nation was founded on those values. And the fact that even saying that nowadays is enough to get you kicked off Twitter and social media and everywhere, I think tells you what it is. But what I really find interesting is that, I talk to a lot of young conservatives, people who are 18, 19, 20, I'm 18, and a lot of young people are saying, look, I agree with this Christian nationalism stuff. Our society is so spiritually empty, it's meaningless. There's sexual promiscuity everywhere, there's drugs, there's rampant crime. It's like, what is missing in our society? And I think the best answer is we have stopped celebrating Christ. We have stopped celebrating everything Christ stands for. And that is one reason, or perhaps the sole reason, why our society is in such disrepair. Do you get that same impression? And why do you think the media, everybody, why do you think they get so mad when you say you're a Christian nationalist? What do you think is behind all of this?
As people around the world celebrate Christmas, it is worth remembering that Jesus was a socialist. Of course, he was born long before the rise of the industrial capitalism of the 19th century, but his radical ideas have influenced many critics of capitalism, including many prominent socialists and even Pope Francis. Really? In 2013, he read a remarkable 84-page document in which he attacked unfettered capitalism as the new tyranny, criticized the idolatry of money, and urged politicians to guarantee all citizens dignified work, education, and healthcare. I mean, that's cool, Pope, but why don't you melt down all the stolen gold and give it away to all the victims of child abuse from the church? Today we also have to say thou shalt not to an economy of exclusion and inequality. Such economy kills. How can it be that it is not a news item when an elderly homeless person dies of exposure, but it is news when the stock market loses 2 points? During last year, Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign gained momentum. The word socialism generated lots of media attention because he described himself as a democratic socialist. Well, he's more of a social democrat. Jesus says in Matthew 6:24, no one can serve 2 masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. In Luke 2:15, Jesus says, watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Wow. So, is that the teachings of Jesus that we're going to get from the Christian nationalists? Or is it going to be the Old Testament? I think it's going to be the Old Testament, unfortunately. They seem obsessed with the Old Testament. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojak, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.